Quickly, my main court, nothing, me for Ajoma Makwabani and start in Incomo. Appropriate time, ever see activity lines and Afi Wabekai, where AsaasePa 107.3 award winning show. Medin the Bonohene Baffour Awuah. My main call me, Elvis Darko. Some for paying Emma the NewsCenta. What can I say? Abani Majo.
Yeah.
Maybe Abokodi, Accra.
Nyamiado.
No, my question you.
Oh, and Kwane here. You won't come quite there.
Right, but no my cost to come at here.
Oh, quite ben so. Near most of them are their doors will be brilliant.
Sitting
oh, Ghana, the Okre Juma, what to say, and easy, especially some trade Jumano. Some trade Juano situation more. Said the petty as say Ghana 4% and some trough when you Jumano na omanenji naso asemba kwa wo say adwuma na asem trofo ye na eyesikasem.
Okay.
Na ewo oman a economy no ewo a certain situation mo no. Eya na emasem trofo ye ho kire won because say ankrankra adwuma enkoso na omuntumi nye advert ewo esem trofo adwuma no. En na me adwuma no nye scans na omuso mdu ya den. Adwuma for the running business no. Nti say your situation now as a economy no be edu no difficult mo bia ama businesses no nyama mo ayedi ama won nti ebema adverts na omode man semtro for no emba the man semtro dwuma bia no se ano ye ho kire ye pa in fact me
also ho kire
oh papa nyeze ye ho kire pa e wo sikasem de ye ho kire ye pa nti do say yen ya adwene say be ye dwuma no so no adwuma no sika na ye de ye mostly adwuma bia obey bia wa semtro adwuma no ehieska enti se koba no se sika na ema adwuma no den enti se semtro adwuma at this point in time they met me aka say the biggest problem pa is kasem but eya na ono ya omuti na omo kinkan de ye chro no eya na aya ase omu semtro adwuma te se NGO ana civil service civic service bia ye enteno said say NCC and abibisa na so mu refi say no can only apply to state owned media. Okay. But say ankrankra djuma the oye bia sikasem when etuanika when etakade odi djuma ni nyina say free djuma na sika efri muba and this say ye hwe some djuma na yi de aban de ni free because aban de etua onka de aka ni nyina no djuma efo aketua bibi omde djuma bia say free djuma ran na bottom na djuma ran so wodi ni sika hye djuma no ehia say sika beba ansa na otumi ato aso nti sika ma na say djuma ran kwa na say tembia say den oyi ni bottom question is ni bottom no ne kese yesen emre bi beba ama ho nti emra Ghana fo ede bia omukasa semtro djuma no mo ya de so ase bebi ato chima mo djuma na nti say BBC nti say we no BBC ni bebi amodi ye modi tutu ye ho no omo no sika homodi ye djuma no emu 1% kwa ye ni bi wokroma
of course
enti say udi yen tutu udi omo tutu ye ho a bisa won say na omo sika sem a omo mutum di ye djuma no Ghana semtro djuma no say wo saska no
okay
why na eboa yen ehi na free ba very important your friend no what you call public interest journalism.
Okay,
but question is who should pay for it. And so long as our institution in here aben juma I say ono mutie ono mukinkan de edi nyanso mu say na nkrofo omunya sika wahi and omuma die ejuma we because sika ni wa ejuma no to be ma na say economy situation businesses in general obi aho kire ntesi a sa advert kakra ba no so emba biom a question is public na ene omo frɛ ana omo kan online we na omo some na sa nkrofo ya sisi ano mo ahokyere mu asa economy ntina obi entumi nye advert bia no omunya scan we because no say aban nye advert o aban nye business aban really doesn't advertise na omo advert bi kra ya normally omo de be call state owned media enti eba ankrankra media dia nyame no kra nim ni oni amanfo kasa otumu se ahokyere we adwuma no papa na omo de omo ne tu form so a omo be hu se adwuma ya ye aman bebre so no anka obekọ no anka mpanyimfo ewe adwuma no obi ewe adwuma 40 years 35 years nasel owo semtre adwuma no because aketua ne ye system ne ye ba oba Ghana There are a lot of very good journalists omo ejuma emre bi ebetwen na omo ni ejuma no bio adentia because ejuma no emfaso efiri mu ba no eswa into we corporate Ghana we corporate ejuma foforo bi a sika be firi mu aba danse o kun ni ho ama oman so na ekomodi no o kum ni ho ama eman so na ne rent ontumi ntua na ne school fees ontumi ntua ese ejuma no oye no emu sika ema nti tembi o wa ho kirem. That is the situation of in Central Jumano Ghana as we speak. Inteno a TF1 no more can who say ye wo a hunchiremu pa. Sana situation it is here.
But almost who say was go and
oh sir and American I almudi I want to talk.
Yes, yeah, and yeah, editor neighbor.
I want to talk media ewa abrochire.
Okay.
But abrochire media no almost financial status no completely different.
Okay.
And American until how the yent to abrochire so and we mu yesi yes obi edmo abrochire media. In fact in abrochire no nipa bebre will never leave the media so ko edmo corporate world because nkrofo omo ye edwuma na du a certain level no aketua omo gye no ene emfaso omo nya free edwuma no mu no ukọ corporate wunya bi by in Ghana ye the opposite ukọ corporate world mu a ena ho to ba wo sem tredwuma mu ho kyerɛw
peanut ni
sana situation nti ya na omo wo that image say na some tredwuma no tie wo abrochire no sana tie wo ha enti omo hu a na omo feel nkrofo yi wo ska and I see and yet say me kasa we obi nyanka no so anya opportunity kasa say but onya sa chance no enti mo ma me chance me kasa no feel say me nipa kesi bi nti na ama me sa chance no because me hu atom because me wo skebi enti na ama me that opportunity say me ba kasa wa onim say enye sa na tie because onu onya sa opportunity no what say we interview minister bi say honorable na tie say me kra honorable kra me hwe no kra say bra me bra say ba ye ono akotena bisa no question. You see that situation mama for say san crofo mo ni mpanyimfo na nam enti say mpanyimfo da V8 mo say mo so da V8 mu say mpanyimfo da cantonment ni East Airport e bia na mo say hono mo da because san crofo omo kra tumi man mpanyimfo ehu kire wo mo sa ansem turefo omo kra tumi ma san mpanyimfo ya ka hu so mo omo kra no central effort mi mo hu kire wo enti san must be very powerful and say because of the power the media carries into omo feel say the power comes with money. Challenges who was some trade man will be feeling say who was coming in your is because send America nipa in the bet me for honorable say by this and brother that's the point. But who friend honorable neti o ti say e bia ni constituency kra no on betting they no e bia be say one month e bia onya akọ constituency e bia no edwuma ama oman Ghana e bia onya kwan ko e e bia omunya hu ne but on betting di na one wo na edi nkomo say e nipa wo de on pakase pa on de honorable to me di nkomo anytime we hear on honorable until that power of the media na my public ne feel say the power also comes with money. You see if you have power you must use to buy money, and if you have money, use it to buy. So the one you say, so long as the media is a very powerful tool. Not just one of mu juma o mu so no be sure mo, but just aneti wo Ghana. Abroche de nanka saneti, but Ghana de be just aneti.
Agyare se be ye. Na Mami Nkono Noble Alexander Agyare MP for Kade, Vice Chairman Budget Committee. Also asra. Me na jo na nyumre honorable majo.
Bonohene Major so what to say?
Na media femi na bibia bako de.
Onyankopon adomo.
Kade ti say your constituency ti say.
Constituency ebako.
They say the team we thank you Tony bibia ho.
Baby, thank you Tony de na ye to your book Accra. We need to election hon say some say the kusi na ye set up Professor Michael Kwe a committee nintino na SSC ye to your book na omutumi ye omodwuma. This year no more we no afeni nso ye ba beti asim na yakoda kedeman ase ewo anunyam a omde hye yen Bonohene nim se Kade de ye wini presidential and parliamentary
of course
and intino ye kwakoda ase ya yakoda myedu ni nyina eho ase ya hye bom kuran se achia ne mom emu ye ti na me sanfa kwanya iso so edi nchia kese e de makedeman Kade constituency 4 include ahodo a ehye include ahodo 144 eni ti mikasa mebobo ni nyina wa hwa na obre no na eko na le mi ko program na me ko kobo kroba akudi ena man ko bobi so na bo ko tena radio so wa mo ye krom din nti no obobo kro no amoye de nti na me
mo so mo na de onye nkwan de na
nti de meka ne se michia yi Kade constituency ni muni pa nyina ewo mu nyina chia mo pa na Bonohene yako spring meeting Washington.
Okay.
Kokohwe ekutie de ekoso. Ebia sisi kasem. Empuntu ekwanya hodoa. Esesa amanya hodoa efaso. Ti na World Bank and IMF meetings and yakoye. Ekokosuya niema bebrebe. Na de edimu akoten kese ne se esesa o man bia no betiminya resilience eso timi gina ne naiso ebusikasem ho ne ntutuyem en nam se ne ye ni na ho so na covid by ne be kan ye to nchen o ma yesi kwan papa so ne be kan ye to nchen sanso en ye da sorry yen so na Russia na Ukraine so dia dan e ye si ani ni nyina kire se o man na ntutu ne ntutuye a atorencham de be dan ebeba yare ahodo beba etu o man no wa hotoso no ene sei which be gidi se ye man Ghana ye hia santutu ye no na mi gidi se ye betumi atoto ne maye na ye mu ayedu enye sa na atorencham ye ntumi si ho kwan na fe san hwe niema ba kwa mienu a ebebo apa especially ye youth unemployment this year to man na se youth e wadwuma ye kan mu si abonten si ya dwo modwuma ye san the youth na abia san akwa kwachimo mu nyina so ye Ghana fo a sabi ye te okon ene akosam ahodo man ahodo so sabi ye say obronsam opadwuma e de madia ensa enya adwuma
of course
ene nti say youth bi shadwuma mu na se ye kan kokosi abonten a ye kire ne kwan wa hwe no bi ka se sore be di machi ni nkonko di bone a no wadi bone okowi ade no akoye bibia emwa ene nti unemployment any insecurity wo man bia mu nso no ye nema ikodi hu nkomo na Bonohene no radio me do besi ha ya na ye koye
but you question we about me the adwuma de implementation execution
you see edene enam say o man no se de ya hye ne yamase ene ye ntoto ye policies, your programs, it's the same. And then you prioritize it. And then you hear yen canning. Yes, she said, then you hear ye. The hear and they say, Sebi, Bitisa Banya Basui. Then you know when DC, or the answer say, full soldiers, Benya BBD. Then I'm saying, Beko election, you know. Your more kind is somebody be Motamason 8 years, Monconium Rebbe.
Did you man say, Yabam in the hey,
and meeting a more be appointment cries way and said the name of party, no, it be a no bit to me, a man, it be a no name, dear, no. So over Agyare boss, your bony dino. Any NDC for ATC office, one of more man and Bahon, when I'm so much at any mono. I just watch church and my many in Mianum and in the bush you have 4 in say. Me mammy asumesi, me mammy what benting or boasia dance, hold no more, no see a woman's organizer or no be an edema, answer the agenda tomb. Na sebita frache si bebu o man ni yepesi ebu ni ye ni yepedi obetumi aya e kwa we ni e de faso
dabi
aban ye nhyehyɛ papa sesa ban foforo e beto aso na o man ni tumi nya ne na igina so enam se nye ne ye de ba ye enu nti de se no ye de to nkyɛn ne nso ye de ba na so obi hyase na ya meto aso na obi nso san ba be hye foforo ase so de ne de ba ebre so ye ni nka so etu te so a na o se san be ko wasi nkyɛn na fe no man ye koye nim anase ye koye chi eti ma man no itumi ye dai enko nanim bi ti say ye de good for oil buy ye nyina gitu mu say etumi boai but my latter part of last year no o man di sikasem ntoto ye no ekoyie eni ti na dollar no ansa na ye be fia ban mu no na than 14 eni ja
na appreciate that
yes so what you say na 14 na cedi na start enya na eden ejina so e buy no yesi da bia no de entisa ene de bebie gold board ene se gold board nso e ho nkomo ne na mo wie munyi but sebita frache se MPP ba ne yesan kase yesan ko gold for oil bie mu a na e ba ne se CEO no a wo ne kwatena gold board no any nipa dodo a wo form adwuma mu no any land cruisers ahodo a wo to de kogu ho no mo no ede no mo so ba beye nti ase ye di nipa no ho agro na se dia mamuo edane agodie na ya nwe o man ho nkanen ya dwen ya political party any for soldiers interest ho de a eso mamuo no e de be di agro nti no ye nim papa no na mum se ye beye eno na ya na aka eno na ayedene enam se ye nim se ye hwe nkrofo bi ho na abu o man no ye nka no kre nti wo behwe na obi ye lawyer ni eso no afomra na mum wo se wo pachew lawyer afomra
abra woni mra no menu mi na ati hanu mi so o mo na sabi o mo cheche mra no mo de kire na ba ne said na lawyer afomra wo se wo pachew ebia ye na ye ignorance ye kra ye ignorant na kra mpo no kra no mo se enye excuse to the law na de onum mra na deda ti Bonohene o ma ye wo mo no inim se be ye se onyame yadomo a na se ye ti ase se o mampuntuo the kanko e de beda yakoma so as politicians dia e be ye ni mom ye yes a party interest nko an ye de bebu o man dia se bi enyame party mu nko anipa e de wo man num ena 2 minutes ye de mawa se bi ye mfenchel e yo man no na akasa na mo se ye brewe mu ne ye pese udi anim ye gitum se politicians ye be ye bi ye je ye din a e beboa na do dan ko ekufu ado enne akotena fi Accra ye be kan untumi nyi free SHS emfini ho so no de bai kwala dodo e be famu nyina ye de start credit no be dan e de be ma no ye papa kufuo national health insurance awo de bai enne e da so ho eniti sa ababia betena so a ese so otumi ye dan ija de din enam se amanya hodo a etumpon no empeni e chichiro man no o momoja gu ho no o mu ka se nchirima so me den e beto aso eniti se ye beto aso se ye nto aso ejina me no mi enu so na ye hwede ekoyi a aso man no reset no emi se ate e konachi e na yate afaso na sebi ye se me ye nkasa enam say 8 years ye tena so no yentumi amfa anya hwe ne mum Ghana fo e de minum say o me good judges ye koye ni mu no o de atemu be dan e beba right
yeah
me that say quickly my cause of substantive issues no so my main starting for you right Elvis so obanyi Elvis yes move for payima the news center my main starting for no ho agena kon yan hwa Sammy Gyamfi issues ya abai dedi kan eto say who say because amanfo bebre a kire madwe bi say o omu hu boni a Sammy Gyamfi aye amanfo so wo adwenkire se da bi o we a public officer ye nye sa de we e wo mountain so ye hwe sa dollars issues.
Well, you see, Sammy Gyamfi issue no I say yes from various perspectives. Number 1, Adebia emra onye public official onya benjuma ne niama obeye ma Ghana ni bi enka ho asem no because unya benjuma no se oba ben mo na we a ebetumi the problem abrel. That is number 1. Until the obetumi aye wa ben mo no as long as we are public official no are completely different from the obetumi aye. And they say o pese o share issue no na o share no say oh the oye dey say e normal about public officer there's a way to do things. I deal with Sammy Gyamfi issue asem here ken. Well, say some other appointees Mahama administration here deal with mean say be a major issue like this.
Mentia say
the entire make say a major issue like this.
That be review mama also say
some other appointees.
Okay.
The entire make say see Sammy Gyamfi was the communication officer of the NDC. The a man for demanding say who resign. Who leaded the party to attack the previous government appointees on similar issues and made similar demands. Say omoje ejuma, mufo omojumesi wo. Say yehwehwem, say dia man for kokot. And they say wo the same thing Eddie will be in the past. Now who koye a similar thing. A man for be demanded the same thing from you.
Of course.
the reason that because amount for say argument amount for say na gold boss in sika ira na when I see sika na corrupt money when I see with all these issues the same argument amount for is Siladapa issue Siladapa nye obi na investigation ko say sika won impasse o ono a na say ni households ewia misika e no ono ananti akọ police station e ko report here say ko ma for mu we fie a me ne omo yedwuma omo wia misika enti mu be hwehwem mu be chinkrofo na mu mfa emra ne omundi enti enye se obi na ekohu se Siladapa covertly de sike bia di sie baabi na nipa ne kokan ye o ono ani pem
no so obi awia me
eno si obi awia amade enti police hwehwem mami but ekire no yen Ghana for the asem no ye dane de tia no se wo ya ben djuma ye ni e unya nkrankra djuma ye ni ti se wo ya ben ye djuma saa sika no do se yenim se e chroniska na kwan we de ye emfa ye ho but the mere fact say wo ya aben djuma ye ni ntino saa sika no e se yetumi bisa se efri fa
okay
e se yetumi hwehwe mu se e ye den e na wo nkwan wo saa sika wo yefie e ye den na sika no wo fie a any bank ye kan demand say so on fa na djuma to the point say or resign ye kan ko dum be say OSP di ni ho ko gye mu so or ye investigation ye kan ma every OSP ko do iyoko this la pa case ni Sammy Gyamfi case we no obi a nko hu mo say dia wo ye no kukuom na mako hu na me be di kokonsa wo ono a na kan so obi a be wia mesika ba enam say oya ben djuma ye ni ntino ye nyina aka say ese etum hwehwe mu say sika no every him e ba ne say no wo sa sika no enti so ono ne free ni pem e no aka say amanfo wia mesika enti mu hwe mam na e kira ya dane ya tia ne say awo ya ben djuma nti e say otum kire baby sika ne fia say ne amanfo demand the same thing say Sammy Gyamfi onye only NDC communication officer anymore enei oye djuma ma aban institution enti say ye hu say o disika bi di che amanfo a ye wo right say be bisa say na sika no nya free hin ye wo right say be ka say ye hwehwem ye wo right say de oye ye no kra no obscene internet say ye dey ye pamo no Ghana for on right so be ka sa and wo NDC as a party no e ma eti ase say Akufo-Addo ye clearing agent on the assembly no an say no ayi wa clear ni pan say oh onye mfom so bia in politics won ye wa de be a friend perception and ye wa de be a friend goodwill sama for goodwill wa wumu a ombeto abama wa ba power na se oba power no na woni yo no cast doubt in a man for mind e be lead to perception sa perception it e be to aba eyi apamu abem
what do you say ye dwene say
sa enti the amount for kafa Sammy Gyamfi obi antumi sin pise eye abenska no wo wi aba amount for say yesusu say obi edwuma ma ban nya so tumi yesa de we ye dwene say the Sammy Gyamfi yi ewo assembly say den ye bisa no you see mama one there were some appointees ye accuse omo say de omo ye bibi e say ankase mra na omo di Mahama yi omo free omo position no oko de omo ko share Jubilee House new appointment NPP di ye campaign say Mahama no uye ade na enye na eso ye che wotuma oduba ko share Jubilee House
e be say Brazil 2014
o dey say but be say NPP ba power for 8 years and crofo na omo akere omo anyi na omo prosecute omo but they use it as a message as a perception message amama for the to abati Mahama enti dia Sammy Gyamfi issue ke say if abani person say emra ben no wafumu ni we a omo ni beti omo so na they will be in opposition and yes of course because aba ngofo to abeti anya say because they have facts ade a we ni nyina enukwa say ni nyina no enyo bebre ade bebre ade to abeti aban perception issues ndra mi say crofo na Mahama yesi we yi omo de akọchi Jubilee House na people by 8 years prosecute obi ya prosecute obi a ti sa we na lesma NDC so mu say what happened in Mahama one no a lot of issues about perception affect omo and it's issues about na a huge public uproar so almost a perception issue rather than law now the entire assembly say another issue ni say NDC no ayo maji say e say ye kire Ghana for say any MPP no nsusunya wo yetim enti emra Akufo-Addo amend o want to be ama public officers conduct bill no and go to parliament ama ya pass ye wo bill sa o conduct of public officers bill e wo ho say go parliament Akufo-Addo nko mo ye de ye emra nko ye nya pass ye de the policy na beba e no mo dim dika e no ma call launch policy say a policy na wa call launch no wa kire say obi wo wa ban mu minim say na mbeka no say opulence
okay
o kuta ho emre be chisa manfo so say o ahomaso bi wo mu a
arrogance
I say metumi yi wo free ho
wo be ya hantan wa manfo
thank you na say ye di cedi na wo koche dollar amobi na manfo ebuefu a enye opulence asem na ye ken
eno na ye ken
opulence asem na wo ya ben and say wow code of conduct can about opulence na obi akoye na Ghana for say ye the code of conduct na wo launch here no ye adwene mu no ankanyeza appointee the Sammy Gyamfi aye enti ye de ye kase ye ne free wa Mahama will be in a tight corner ene because say we Sammy Gyamfi free wa Ghana for na omo si ye ne from bebo wa baso but say when you name free one so e be ka say okay arrogance of power are setting in ene NPP for akoye omo research from omo party members o enye NDC for enye general Ghanaians o just NPP members almost one of the reasons omo lose election say arrogance of power. And the Kobani say, a such Uncrofor say, Maham, there are some Mahama Pam, no Simin Pamuna. Kobani say, Mahama Pamunoa. The perception of arrogance of power no are setting in. And you know, a bad politics are, Yenfa Bibi anye legalities. Legal Bibi, and Braben or Fumoye, the way no, why, we mistake now, yes, our own. Ube lose election, we answer when this better. And it be net 2 MPP. Emra public approach Ken Oforiatta economy e ho che free on finance minister say e ni free ho e perception issues enye say we Ken Oforiatta free wa na economy all of it no obi aho ato no but at that moment there's a public approach say on in charge of sikasem ene ye ho kire sikasem dia say bibi e wa o de yi ni free of obi fufuro bia me na me ka tran ka yi Ken Oforiatta ka kofo bebre
akoma be bafo
ene Dokwan ya bono 5 cedis no mpacho since Mahama win election ya teso
dabi ebi ko 10 cedis
ndema bebre eto market to kwa mpacho ya teso
dabi
ba won sese no man no adwo ase so bia ho nkire no and then change no mo penaba enti aba ufro aba enti say ya tinema so ya tinema so emfa ye ho because the penaba because the perception mo won say aban obi odi yakoye mpe ya ka say ye pe we ni po wo se won nyema yen ene ye tu na ye ni nya to opposition no answer na ni so beti no omo research as MPP yankasa no it's in their report say one of the reasons omo lose you say time a public ni say ye nyi Oforiatta ye nyi e ka ho no lose election it is a political party now fighting opposition who can send bebre now we need election now about power na enkrofo na wo ka che se tie omo nti no mutuma o na omo start kasa now so who be there opa be careful and President Mahama say very careful say how you exercise discretion a bet to me a government wow because discretion is a wono una obe decide e kwan a wo de assembly be faso
okay
ente obi adwene say oh anka pam no wo say o de bi me pam no a typical example ni say nkofo mo declare mo asset you say obi so obi say domale for interview grant you say onu na president man ko be pam nkofo because onu de sanka onu na president be pam wo. But then the president also waji omo 3 months salaries to kwakoto Mahama Kemu. Na no the question is so obi wana ju say anka say opamo nipa no na wan pam na kwaji nipa ni salary. Why do you say what satisfy nipa na that you have not satisfied the person. Nipa no still ni bube fool say onu say pam nipa no wan pam no. Ntino that issue. And then Ghana nya credit upgrade. Ken Oforiatta na ya kan ho asem yesi anka yenyi no. And then the policies are here to recover the economy. And then ratings upgrade. But why never need Obi ambonidi because public perception at the time say illegality is free at this moment. No penny and penny. Or you. It's free. And the question is say and this measure public perception about this Sammy Gyamfi issue. If they are minded say send a man for boy fu sa issue we no say the emra ko ka ho a ebe boya na. Because see, President can come and say the same way Awama ono man declare asset to a 3-month salary to win. No bet me akaso wajin a 3-month salary. But the question is there, who the feel say you have done something, no? But the so be san na Ghana for so omope. Na omope na we ma omo ana. Na sanya omope then the arrogance of power starts setting in.
Right.
And you know man penny mahama ni NDC for no omo. And the answer say all the defense are man for put here for sister Dapa na. NDC catch say it doesn't make sense. It's chinchina say pump sister Dapa and all resign you know. And then the same defense and the NDC for they put it up for Sammy Gyamfi. And for me, they should understand say legalities and way and the argument is that the particular code and no breach here, mra breach here. Ghanaian who is complaining and vote and a public no complaining no. Or no is not interested in say whether the person has breached law or not. Need the any say or say the nipa na no or ni nya adwenti pam ne free ho. Say one pam ne free ho. The question is say sa nipa no ugidi say abato oba no beto ama. And then the most important question, it is a goodwill and the Uber power, not perception the Uber call opposition. The Uber power, bibia uye biano, your number one priority as a political party. And it's even though I'm doing the right thing, if public perception is against it, then I must do something about that public perception.
But public perception is and I say mrado.
They are in America. We share mrado now be lose election because nipa be brain niama on why no. What do you mean point a particular emra? Because their mama a policy and yet law.
Okay.
And so the policy doesn't even prescribe the punishment for opulence.
Okay.
And the discretion in my president to know what he will do if you should break the code. The president determines what to do at the time you break the code. But if it was public officers conduct bill that has gone through parliament and passed, and then so we are assuchini. We are assuchini. The moment you are caught, we are assuchini. But public conduct officers, they are no. Why no? And yet they are called through parliament
because it was silent on say public official be charged.
Say we are there, we are. I should in the code. Anyhow, a discretion to the okay bibia or no man paying a bit. The moment we have discretion pay, you create a big problem for yourself because most of the time no quite fast outside that discretion, okay. And the moment they will begin to accuse you of arrogance or power.
But is it wrong for public official say obey donation, obey doye ewa bontiana?
Is it wrong? Then I make a choice say public official, the entire they will be so very careful. Ni say baby out here no as a public official no, who share or mind seek asamso. Okay. And on my sikashe was on seminar with the idea. Say who say disika bibia. The first thought that will come to a person's mind is ana sika no the ana. And then say menewo ye kofu plane. Ni a government appointee, not the first class one. Ebi ana ne sika no no try ticket.
Of course.
But enam so oil government official enti. Ye beka say akowo diga na school. Share. Or no, a Benjamin, or the first class.
Like in the case of CJ, say, one in the Kurunin ma.
But I don't a travel policy issue. But the American says, because share any appointee in a plane, and then not me be 2 Michano or plane more. Not me also the first class more. The mere fact said the person is a public official. No, the first thought that will run through my mind is say, why is this person in first class? And a classical example was the former British High Commissioner to Ghana, John Benjamin. He made the point that he, as a public official from the UK, no, according to BSO to be he's supposed to use what economic class. Now Ghana, ECOG loan from UK, but or not to me rapper no one who public official in first class in business class. Wow, Obeji and more from Mima buy hono. Mima buy who the first class. Now Mima buy no say Mima economic class. Sandy Pana John Benjamin can. Ebikwane any official trip. Okay, maybe I don't trip or not the ticket. But how will I know say 1 or 2 hour ticket? And in the moment we are public official, no, Nyama bebre why be any abens can already you. But the mere fact say who hold public offices, whatever you do, yeah, say, sika no woody. And in the moment we don't have the benefit of knowing say. Sa idea we are one kasa usika no wodi ya. The first thought ni say akwoti government kaso enti say oti abansi kaso a na oye ade we enye yesika esi bisa question ye won question say bisa obi anfo so say koji public office obetumi atra private office ukita utra 10 first class in 1 month and so be because unya ban adwuma enti na make say ade a obeye emra we ankrankran a unya ban adwuma no enso so ye kese ye wo mu say oba ban aban adwuma ye ni eye different enti say next Sammy Gyamfi ye hu say wa che obi sika na ye dollar Ghana for ho kwan so be bisa say Sammy Gyamfi oye adwuma ma aban na saban adwuma na oye no eba ne say no no etumi che dollars ewo
senior the question here is dollars na wo che no and a issue and as can our demand nipa no and a issue
the sikana got the man say see do $1 na me catch say yeah on my mo for no the first question be ya atwene na ye hu say obi yes ade say sikana ni dia and I aban dia the public apron be ba no u ya aban adwuma u hwe aban sika so and say hu say u use sika in a certain way the first question say your personal money and not a government money. And since we don't have the benefit of knowing the source of the money, no, we would demand say you should be investigated. We would demand say you should be suspended. We would demand say yepamo because
amount of money matter na. Is it assuming say man 100 Ghana cedis and $100 are issues with
about issues of ethics are the quantum and issues don't matter. It's about ethical issues. And ethical issues are not law, but it's a matter of principle.
Okay.
Look, last week, the National Security Advisor of Sweden or resigning Ejuma. I don't know in Ejuma. Ebede they say ni photo. Ye ko ni photo. A dating site. Dating site.
Yeah.
And ebeda ni public discussion. Now who are we National Security Advisor? No, who picture dating site.
Yeah.
Or not no say I dey ask my from so. Position me as national security advisor no
any kwan say
me picture copy dating site immediately resign here one train and for pressure no koto o man pedi say this opam no we say dey be Sweden for say yenti ase say who as individual no o picture but Ghana ha and na a national security advisor picture copy dating o ka to be resigning o be ka dem from so be na emra be na mafum it about issues of ethics and principles ah yenfa emra and defend it. A minister in Germany a time ago.
Maybe we are Ghana near here pa. And you be an mra because my own argument be a man for reason say emra ben wafum code of conduct won't try baby a wafum.
And I make say minister national security advisor and picture copy a dating site. Ghana ha obi be say emra ben wafum. Boni ben na why is it wrong so the picture copy a dating site? But the moment the public in Sweden started complaining say money na nya adwin say we a national security na we picture that date any we nya adwin amount for static and one say him we resigning obi abedi minister of Germany emro be minister na assembly be told you say 15 years before obey minister no okoji gift no time obey minister na enu one say better than asem or resigning here because of that issue one year sudden in public but abema asem na be public discussion and we who say the perception na assembly air generating no ebe affect you no na bush any aban o serve wo it the best thing say e so no fi aban no intem
na aban no to no
na aban no to no it is say bibi say the assembly defense say who reduce it to law when it's better now opposition now ko bisa on pro for say na say ade assembly Gyamfi e mo ka say pam no so pam no e ka ho nti na ye lose ho na be say na sa assembly so e ba ne sen e na ye use the to aba the time so yes microphone na so muto aba na ema wono aka akire o sa ade no omumpe wo no na o man penite wo de wo be ma na atena ho but they have the power to teach you a lesson at the ballot enti abato no do a ye be kire wo say de e ka kire say ye mpe na wo so de wo be ye no ye be twenwaso no matwenwaso enti wo ya ban pa obi fomra faniko but the most dangerous no say obi efumu a code or ethics emra discretion wo ho how you exercise that discretion say public need disagree with you say kwanya offers you exercise discretion no is endorsement of what the person has done now one buying uhachiro into this term now president mama so person ja a legacy on person onya the oye first term no na man for beka so buy and the way ya dey na Ghana for Ghana transfer their Jubilee House on yes an yama ni biom say one set that precedent with Sammy Gyamfi say a question is say what's opulence Sammy Gyamfi Yefan say President Mama Baso imagine 3 months salary million. This is not just say obi obe from code no bia no.
You be juice.
And you be juice.
And two pays can now you from kra.
But the question is can oje no. Enye na Ghana for na o complain po. And in this country ade ba kon crofo lose elections pass on say say obi wa abem no e bibi na Ghana for complainer ye who complain say e opposition for na complain obi obe complain bia e opposition e bi before ye bi ene na ma mo opposition ne unye political person na uya ade na ma for complain you want to reduce it say a political opponents net attack you we lose election in advance into we hear Sammy Gyamfi statement na or issue ya actually no or issue apology to the party people omubuefu enye Ghana for which means that in his mind no obi o attacking the bia na obi o kasa won reason obi o kasa de enya nya bia na adwene mu no omu ye opposition for ba metumi aka kire say nipa bebre wo ho a omu ye opposition
floating voters
it is a just microphone to now who response is to your party people and your response is to the opponent not just the issue of arrogance of power setting in. See, is it politicians are tricked by Nyama? They don't pay attention to.
Honorable member, is it not because the party for no feel say omo using ye juma and ankrofo a omo nya juma omuni party num omo kasati a NDC aban bi ti say Agradaa no ye this came omo na party full soldiers omo ho kire omo.
Eno ho but that me ka say we ya wadun say omo complaining opposition for and they say o party for na say we apologize more you are missing the plot. Because one of more complain, you can never convince me say obi o complaining about Sammy Gyamfi issue no be a MPP ni. On why I always say within the party there's a serious implosion over the issue within his party. But that does not mean say ube focus on apology to party people. The moment you are doing that, you are leaving behind a certain group of people, you are disrespecting them. And then now Mbekacho said there's arrogance of power because that's no issue. The apology is directed to the NDC people who are not Ghanaians. And it is when you do this is a minimum how this thing always beat politicians. But once they are in power, I say Bibia Kata or money and the who catch them say idea apology. Sammy Gyamfi could have issued one sentence statement. So a professional PR background and I will be obwana. Oh, with the benefit of hindsight, idea me who say enye de kwanso me na Ghana fortune we ba o ko kirem say wo sa na wo de is your make wo de ya wo ya doye wo de santi ade a wo ye no anka wo boa obi na wo boa nipa de bi ante wo de wo nti ase say but I feel na we hu say dia say na man for complain there complain nti wo apologize here. See, you are missing the whole plot of why people are complaining. You are missing the whole plot of why people are complaining. And you know, politicians, but once they are in power, the way they look at issues, is different from when they are in opposition. Opposition is clear. They will say it as the other Ghanaians are complaining about. But over power there. Who draw attention? Question was idea we emwa. Yani so who the enemy fa. Who momu na person. Na yani say.
Oya mampanyi John Dramani Mahama because Sammy Gyamfi obi a wa serve wa penny deals in NDC. Oya mampanyi John Dramani Mahama and Kade na be.
Say men I discretion.
Don't forget to say John Mahama ne bra Ibrahim Mahama the boy ni Sammy Gyamfi.
Say I know na the eto akufado no e bi ba betu John Mahama no. Say in politics one your friend be the key ingredient in politics is loyalty. And if John Mahama feels that Sammy has been loyal to him, he will not sack him. Okay? He will be lenient on him. But it's some loyalty no and ebe share Ghana for before. Because omo demand is a pamono. Now they will feel say nipa na loyal to you. Into pamono, you become a victim of your own loyalty. Me, I've said say people think Akufo-Addo didn't sack a lot of people. If they have their right, and that's what the public was demanding. It was in the report a reshuffle. Party for now say I'm out for cancel reshuffle. Reshuffle. But I don't know any reshuffle. Akufo-Addo's loyalty to his appointees, and the man to be any loyalty, at me reshuffle, no. So the issue between Mahama right now, what you do, is going to be determined by whether he believes, say, Sammy Gyamfi's loyalty now or yet to him, should take precedent over accusations of arrogance of power now the government will face if one pamona that issue he thinks that the loyalty of Sammy Gyamfi is more important than the accusation of arrogance of power and their own pamono.
And 2 years, John Mama. And I'm using as a scapegoat and I'm
this about the loyalty. If really Sammy Gyamfi is loyal to John Mama, say me a politician and John Gyamfi loyal to me. All this while when I'm in position, me this to me a pamono. But I see that is the problem of every politician that suffers in the world. Loyalty. So who the Nipana shows a Nipa was saying was serving me. I said more pay me pamona na. But then I make in advanced jurisdiction. Nipana kasakwa on tenase e ma on be pamono.
Onu
abe resign. That is what saves a lot of situation in the advanced jurisdiction because Nipana be senior public no reacted towards the issue
for the sake of
my political party me and kasa me and now the future of my generation that will come after me no say me tremwa is the issue no e be drag a dragicha the more harm is causing into me call president kwaya madum say wa ma me appointment na say na me ni yonti amafobu efu omanpenina to save the omanpenini party no me mo sacrifice mu na me call but in Ghana and other places no in Africa here no it's difficult for appointees or resigning because there's an issue so no one resigning party's reputation appointing authority reputation will be affected and microphone to me now almost the president has to tight con him the president nipa loyalty nipa na been loyal to me no public approach difficult high but me sacrifice so then I'm not being fair to him so our presidents always get divided between these two and most of the times choose loyalty no of the person over what the public demands. And the microphone book phone to me I don't see President Mahama sacking Sammy Gyamfi.
John Mahama tight.
No, in fact, unless Sammy himself resigns, and then we free President Mahama's hand.
But there is no way Sammy bit my palm.
I don't foresee President Mahama sacking Sammy Gyamfi. I don't see President Mahama sacking because as you have rightly said, he has been very loyal to President Mahama in opposition. And yeah, for 8 years opposition, easy. Now, we win election. That person, man, I'm not issue yaba. First of all, any breach of law, and that's where they are tricked. No, baby, I'm a bit trick. And say, okay, Munchre me say whether I breach law, and then legal brings number. Oh, this one is not a breach of law. And breaching law. So okay, so any breach of law, then mean some lenient punishment. But that's why you are going to make the public more angry. Because not just say who the omo can who feel say the omo can or they be only omo nya adwene but public no say feel say omo so the omo can omo so omo adwene mo no they are right but also who catch omo say who adwene mo no they are not right so that is where when it comes to the ballot box so when they were 2 minutes for 4 years so into the year they are open but they do about to na yes you be kira say 2 minutes be crying into no see that trick now politicians are not able to deal with that's the problem so a president must have somebody who is ethical bias.
Okay.
Ethics bias. Who will say Mr. President? And Mariah Wakacho Yampa Wembum Rabia Subatia. Look, this is the public reaction to the issue. And I believe say for political tactics, you have to let the person go because one manankwa this anger of the people in 4 years time it will come and affect all of us and especially the NDC as a party because President Mahama is not going to seek re-election but it's the party that is going to seek re-election and he can decide to say well the person is loyal to me after 4 years after I'm not seeking re-election to me they mean man the embassy after I'm gone and the embassy make us say on kai say embrede betwe appointees be here maybe Ghana for 2 years because those times it was getting close to election or you almost free position but or do you call Jubilee House NPP made a huge issue out of it say instead of so be pamo omo akofie na wama ya prosecute omo safe haven in Jubilee House and that was a campaign message one of the campaign message of NPP in 2016 and it's all kinds of situation now no be say no microphone na nkasa na NPP the campaign because of the omo Jubilee House in 8 years of NPP which of them was prosecuted
meba Mami Honorable Alexander Agyare MP for Kade Vice Chairman Budget Committee Sammy Gyamfi dollars Agradaa.
Mini Elvis ne kasa mu no ase Michael Kwei ne report no ase opeso chese wakan because okasa no akoti baako okasa no akoti baako enti ye sorry fi hanu mu a ye be friend on pedifo anim
Oh, now as a journalist, I'm entitled to get information from any source.
Arrogance of power.
They be right. Party General Secretary Tom Mukonya baby or can
so far no. But you know what he had on Okuti. And every we could from the report. And this is a report, members of parliament here who ye.
Maybe I'm on person who
ye take soon for you. The more ye trans you do who ye Koso and Elvis Eguso Ekeka. Na minim sending in an no credit. Na Okaneka was a politicians ye siade. Sana man for Keka. Na bijidi se eyedo krenso. Na you say I buy the boat chino.
The bubble bar.
The bubble bar. The bidumu bube say ye a paso season. Aye di kokosachi. I the tea who fu bi mu no. Say a feson na se ye komaso na takrabo nyina obi adwane. Elvis we kaya o mampanin to mama wodi nkunimu wie ye no. Wohwe na no aron kasa no amoto wodi nkunimu so no amo
apem no
na pem no asoma odi ka che no nkrofo ne se odaga na fo ase onu so na nko obedi nkunim ni mom no onim se obedi ma abro so se abro ne nti ase so na de o ka che the party fo ne se abai de bote chi no
the bubble bar
wan kasa ye de bebo no o se da ho twen ba abai de bote chi no e da ho twen ba Sammy Gyamfi asamu ayeke Sammy Gyamfi onehena oya brand ketwa communication officer for the party obi ntan no de mo wadwiri no hu bi pa obekaya emri bi na president ye na nado danko akufuado ono ankasa ogina ho no ma o kasa no ni protocol director de ade e ba be share nsem Sammy Gyamfi di gu social media. Esre papa no. Pie di bibia ye dan. Abehye de nsem. E ma Mrs. Julia da pass mba yi. Ono no wo kire mu so emraninfo. Ene ntie se ye de ne kokot. Teni Elvis eka no. Esa pepepe. Maame no sebi ono anu na okoye. Ekoka se makwala awiame. Ene yebusa ne sa fi sika kora onya wa hemfa. And I'm say, oh, you're minister. And says, oh, yes, Cabibisa. Edu Bribin swa. Sikano Casado Dono. And yan near the castle. The Nipa dream fa.
Say, ya ketu say, Cassio.
Yes. Na, o man penny, your mamma. You must send us some. A bear mobopa. A found him body of a bow. And nam say, Nipa or no more yedman. Ubi a cranagri. Na ben be a muno. A bium. That's a ba. That's one twice yentamwa. And no never happened. I'm saying penny for see dua. A bit to me a woman, you know.
It was here.
You twice here. You just up. Oh, my penny, mamma, I am not going to say, Ubebu a man ye. Yatiasia. Also very set. Yatiasia. The uncle ye be or the better to ye. Libum or no one casana, she said, Ediato. Na ofa ni code of conduct na utia bebuame bonohene maka nketua we say
o de kan
ede amount
because matis amount for a argument say yeah
or say the code or say yeah the message was say this code of conduct clearly states my expectation of a government of integrity,
okay,
honesty, impartiality. If many do na sense ye can ye the better is said respect, decency, incorruptibility, competence, professionalism. One was na Emra
107.3.
Yeah corrupt because NBP for no ya crom for. Ye de ne yetifie. Ye miemia ye kro. Ye dwene ye ho. Ye di nidie beba. Ye betche say ye nye corrupt. Ye de wo de bribe no, wo de fasro a. Ye nsum, wo de fafem nso a. Yesum, you be very honest to Ghanaians. Na Ghana for who say party papa. And then bayaba. Na yen ye be ma Ghana for e ho atom. Ye ti parliament you know. You know ma de bi omo kan say. Omo de Ghana for sika. Ebe mom no omo de atom botum. Ghana for be nyomu sika de atom botum. Ye ma president en konkotena private jet team. Don't Dware wom. Unia you nim sasa bu nyina na nya no kore. So mampani te private jet mu no Dware.
Also Dware gu yeso.
Dware gu yeso.
So no, this is the problem. No more can. Your Fred defense minister or parliament say, I then a president on full presidential jet no
for private jet.
Also president, also president there. Sometimes jet no what. Odu also plane mo I saw to me quite a certain meeting. And in the plane mo I saw to me Dware not and I'm saying that president Dware go yes. All politicians. And in the end this. And I had that in the first minister who explanation come out parliament I'm to yeah the back with the president.
Etino edu bribi no. Wo hwe ya ye photo o mampedin e boy presidential jet nim asabi OCC no. E wasoro hono eni okuja to jite o jetare mu de na yeti hanom na mafo agisane ma we nyina yeden e de atom na omampani security e wo hia ne bible e wo hia no ye de no ayeden ato nchen enom se Ghana fo ye hiafo eninti sabi omampani etu kwanya wono so mametena first class kra BM se yempese obetena honom ye ni nyina ntena economy enom se tama obeye campaign e de amaye no oba ye nyina ye na ase oba mi village ekwan ne ye yeye anaju esumu no nam honum ensuo so ofae e de baye odi ni adum light ana baby e wono light ni honum almost so mo car light eno de be campaign eti ensese na de okotena wiem no Dware ni nyina e perception Sammy Gyamfi e de no kekan e de no wanka sabi so o si ben president no ben ni nua ni ntino be gidi se pepepe ye bi wono mo a wono ani ndipa ke so otumi ye bibia e betumi ate wo manim na papa na asem a wo kan nyina code of conduct ni nyina no enye mra wono no wahye se weni kwanya me pese ma point is mo ye dai mo faso be standards enie wasete dia to susum a etaye kire no e wo mampani ni ho
okay
wono no be kire se me na me kan se ni me na me ma appointment na yesi akwa onche ni wura it is owura ho so yo wura dia wo betumi di na kwa ye den afa kwan papa so min kan che ne so won pam no le mom one standards a was set no susu mu na tachiri no e wo mampani to mahama ensam
standards no dia he na Sammy Gyamfi abuso
be pa cha wo si mamum fasika enya kesesam ana nyesa ye meye akesesam e wo nipa ni so ma ye ma e ma me yese ye nye ye ho enam say ye ba be som ahantan suban
Opulence. Arrogance of power. They are all in the code.
Eninti no onye sika na wo hwe ni poster odiko wura ka anu a eni sika no a wo twene ne bag na wo twe afi mu no a
na wo bag mu
se bita frache wonye afi ni botom na se ni wo kukuru e de aba no na wonim de na enwango wo mu ni se oba ne ye kura no se fa de aka nyina aka me ho na oje no na ne nsam kura nya den
o se da jamu ma no
Mamini shrimp free in sim.
Abi, one human finism. Bro, in the circle, bim. Sikana, original.
Check it.
Original. Original. None in some ombre. One says, Unya who be bring us all the idea, ma. Sabita French, who mean you are china bedi home. It won't mean you are china ubedi ho de ya. Utimi yadai. Utimi jem pepepe. It is your china bedi no, utumus a Sammy Gyamfi number one, you are china bedi no on home. And it will just can say boko.
Meba one meba sesi ya. Ma yentie de si ye wo muntem bra wo twiska no meba.
Ona budi ni na mama anaye. Fa ni na mama. Ni na mama. Honorable. $2. That was Sammy Gyamfi.
Say o hwe kwan ofa so me masam a wode call car no eko use Canada car wase no o hwuma no se somje o just kan wie no so wutie we no enye ni nyina nie ne sa so mu wie no en wo se makwa akwaji ska o Sammy Gyamfi wonom. This is woman power.
What can you know?
Oh, no, I'll be the way a short one. In fact, before what was
woman power, and then
on what I can cruise on the video at the end, we don't be video.
But also, Agradaa, and say I'm Crophobia baby now.
Oh, the Agradaa was a video on no catch any cruise, bra, video, where be video. Now, not video like that.
What's say? This is Majisica Efi Sammy Gyamfi honum. This is woman power. Yeah, Ghana for. You say Sabi. Sika be do obi ansama na mema asama edan aba it wey dey hu TV so nie anaso wey dey amanfo etumi atwa e video e dey aba bonten ya ye hwe nie eni ti se sika be di be mansam na se woman power enso ho de ya na e kire se oman no ye dey ahye nipa bi nsa na Sammy Gyamfi asam ye be ka ne sen na no ya eni e pass budget $279 million. I would the bagane schema over $4 billion. And the man as a seed money.
Good board.
Good board. And need to say, Abemu wa wasi so. Na sebi party ano kasa de ma. Minu na sitina mu de. De mo menyi ni se na brabo mu de bia wo che dollars. Na nu ye de dollar kakraka twa abo de to no so. Na de amanfo mpo e kan se Abemu we de. Oni experience bebre ni mfinye du. Si edi bibi kesi yesei ebe hye ne nsa ene de eri nanu enu nansa watch dollars so one sikana wode che no ehun sunsanso ne se wo ya banjumani aban mu panin wonna so nye communication officer no enko abiem en wakaso wona ne foot soldiers akusia no wochiche sika e de amom de mumsa wo kire memma se mo kira kesese mo no taxpayers no omontiasia na instead say obeba be pa oman ne chewo no odwen say ne party fo nko a na omo huhia eti ni party fo no a omo platform so no omo to omo no agu ni so say aden na woli sika koma oba we ya bra yenum bi no ekom de yen no e no se me pa mo che o menua no msa nko yi a
mo fanche
me
tinye Ghana fo no odwen
da be nya Ghana fo asam no odwen ho sabi enipa e be ka bi etia ne de MPP fo so de omo aba be di Sicilia da pa aba be di sika e no mo di sika no mo de ko ni nti mo na mo hia me a be pa mo chew mi ti chopa no one fa Ghana fo o de chopa no e de man party fo oba no so gi sika no wie a kire woman power eni nti no enese ye ti ha no mo ade ye kan ne se e ma hodo ni nyina no woman power no ye den e wo honom eni nti ye na 2 minutes san ye no ba bi sika na kodi no binim se e honom so e na akwanya no be den e be wo mo de bagiska apart from no ye de no to nchen so de ache na nyese government official na then ye be hwe the other side of it enso ne say na no ye dollar no e ba fem amanfo enya gidie e wo ye cedi no enye dollar no ye nya cedi gidie wo mo e ye cedi no e na ma ni gidie ye nya gidie ye den e wo eni ti se wo enya kwanya na se wan yusu even cedi wo just can wrong wo san che dollar no so kura so de eno so de ye wo homra e wo ho no ma ye foreign exchange act no 2006 no okay 3 a ensese woni akwanya wo betumi edi dollar edi dwa ensese wuyi wukita eninti no e kire se ese wunya kwanya asa no gotumi kita foreign currency enam sa high Ghana na ye Ghana no ye sika no musunsum no egira ye so
okay
si enya gidie wo ye sika no mu a oman no so benya gidie ye den ewom but wunya kwanya se ubekita dollar na odi ama wo hwe mra mu a emra obia o mesika bia no e kire se wo gisika this is saying o mesika bia wonya sika wo gisika anything no the giver any taker no nyina fom so at this point or Mexica so the perception now is that nyesika or jessica nesika na wodgen so nyesidis and I'm saying nim say don't listen ye dia shenensa
that means honorable metwasia city loyalty campaign no wase no kra
chese wahwie agu na abrahosem ewo mu so ne say yesi gold board no enne na de dollar no ebeden ebeba ni yetumi aban na tumi nya dodo no na me yensidi no etumi gina ne nan so ene wono eche dollar ene nti wo ba beka a kire yensen biem isi Bonohene se woti krom ha enne ansa na obenya dollar Bank of Ghana enchese na ansa obenya dollar edi kita no enya de ketwa o call bank se okope bi kura na yempese ye de be mawo na se wutu kwan a wotwa ticket no bibi awie no ansa na wo de akwa kire e wo bank na ya mawo sika wo de beko eno tutu bi nyi more than $10,000 se eye transfer ena wo so wo je edi atua wo ka e wa manane nso anasa approachira adekode ase mfa se ka na wo so wo de koto a wo de ho invoices ni nyina from the dealership no be ma bank na bank na wo yeska no e de akọ bank ne de ma wo wie na so wo to wie a ka ne bedu o man mu a na wo yi wie a na wo sa de ho paper no asan yakọ no mo de close case ni se sika wo ya efi ha at this point no e call man we so se kofa ka we na dia ba no no kre ka na bidu adanse e krata benie ne de close case no e dia ma e kire se MPP aban eye nhyehyɛ papa sika sam ho nhyehyɛ papa e de to honom a ese so mba beto aso na se dollars ne na mabontin yi de ne sika sam ho nhyehyɛ papa no e be yeden se ne de Ghana for de do no e hwɛ ne se mampani mahama se emra ne nie wa wasema wo kan he nie wo banso nie se want me antena wo ba yes want me antena wo ba dia ha ba na betena no e na wo o kan ye so nkyeye emframa mfa so o kan na ache kra dia wo beka se ene e che no emu yemre refri aba o kan na no ya na o kan ye etu wo kan ye no na se bia ba na want me anje hwe amfa wo dia e kyese de wo kan ni nyina no o kan e de kire Ghana fo keke se ye nya dwene pemfa ho se for second term media wo betumi abibi papa enam so no man pani na kasa no ye nim Ford ho nsensem a wono aka so oje ne Ford nsem na wo hu de Ghana fo edi tutu ni tire ho ni nyina aka ho bi na 2016 ye tu ni din government official one Ghana fo refie e na o de kokota na fie it is wa babiem na so wono aka so obedi ni hu ni na se na nkwala eyade na so wontumi nkadea na chese wono efudie na kasa na be ko mampani na kasa wonom nam so wo hwe bible mu a odifo bi friend Eli na ne ma eye nkwala bone nsam etie nyame nyankopon ogwone no se onkasa nkyere na ma wankasa nkyere na ma edu tembi no nyankopon gitumi na kasa yeden efi odifo no hodom eso no odifo na kasa anye bone na mumu se wantumi antia ne benti tell the Elvis can say MPP for a do tembino arrogance of power and ye de kofie no okoti okoi report e de bay no ni na no ye keka de bomu a e koba ni say e bia se ne nipa dodo no hwehwe se ye yaban no ombetumi atretem niema ene nipa bi no ye ntumi anye ntini de kofie because ye fa code of conduct bia ma meto honom. So at this point we expect President Mahama say on measure appointees no according to one standard our heading was set me nyini say esese yeden e de ma no enti no otie sikasam e ho nkyehye emra no wo hono a echese Foreign Exchange Act na make 2006-3 no it is there oye branim for Sammy Gyamfi mra eti wo mo yen test ni yen hwe na me te say yes ya friend no say chief of staff eso wombra na chief of staff no di asem
chief of staff enyo no di asam
so no beto omanpanyin fo nti omanpanyin
ni
ho asem si ya
na asam aba
Mampanyin ni from how
and so holy fort for no
na Cecilia ba da pa asam ba yi no ese special prosecutor na yeden enkofa no emo ko wura ni fie hwehwe ne mpaase nyina hwehwe sika dodo e ho nom na eden the sequence ye be special prosecutor
ebe investigate
no ni ebe ko ni fie akọ $100 no dodo nso eguru ho nom.
And who expected special prosecutor be investigate Sammy Gyamfi?
Of course.
107.3.
What is $100 one ho? Enti enko hwe fie ni enko dodo e ho. Enti ni say chief of staff e frɛ no say on bracket no a. Enu ankasa no sebi ebumra no so. Enye na dwuma. So obefrɛ no. Obetumi afrɛ no say o na appointee. No na kasa but ensesa yasam we hu. Esi e mamra no yedan e take focus na ono enso koko defend no ho no kire na fe ye hu say Sammy Gyamfi breso no awo acting CEO for Gold Board no sika bedi ni nsema wo cheche bi wa bonten no special prosecutor ehwehwe mu no o kire say obia eye adwuma wa bema na bankachi ana appointee bia no okuta sika obetumi dia kire no bobre obetumi dia yemasam e wa bonten emfa ho se cedi ana se $1 se ba ne sa dia ye nyina ye nyi ye tro no ye kapra na se yetumi de kire ye betumi dia kire bro no baka ya MPP for ekoye primaries obi echiche sika ye ni enma DC for sika na nipa ne dia ma party for no edoso dodo eninti ye nkonko hwehwem ni ehwe kwako a ofa onya sika
107.3.
iti ye fi ba bi ni aba bedu hanom iti ye si ye pesi ye sika sam enhyehye ekoyie na politicians government appointees ya setna eso oman nani a ye di discipline e badia asem ni nyina sese na kwa kogino mampani nsam obetumi ama ya ye nhwehwemu
on crack whip no
yes na o ma Sammy Gyamfi on tranchen na wo nhwehwem
Revis ka bibi say edin say Sammy Gyamfi mampanyin ma be crack whip on him say wapamo no wona na yadwen say edin ma no say obepam na na
Borone isi yes
edin ma no na
yes ekuro a ebeku okraman no eto da pampam eni ti say yeden ma no a kana fo nyina hwe na ye chichiri mpodie ni ebesoa abanya sabi who need 5 months mo ba ye mo di ora mo so chesi akrofo mo chi akrofo ye kotire ye betri ni enye budget ni ntia e the budget ni ba ya Sammy Gyamfi nsaka ni sika na wono wo to the gold or watch the dollars no afi di wo se konfo bi ani ba bia mu nyina no obi aka na no atom nam se no mo ye ora no mo dia appointment e no ku jet wo be ko so wa busy Nani year Donald Trump deport to a man for America for you as a minister. He says ko betu anamo akohwe baby ye nkrofo no gukura no na wote hanam and watch information and oba be brief parliament. So time no a no ye ranking of foreign affairs na ko be set that for playing akwatena honom. No akwakoye video e dia kire ni pasitire mu no wa kire sa ban ni tirimu ye den eden. And some no kasa ibuno yene o ma pedi na kasa wode no hono ye no baby onenam. Na so mampani abedi akira nkasa nso no yenum se almost a month now ye oni o man mu no de da bi there was official communique say o yare enti ye de netu kwan ma okwa akoto aso
I'm told say speaker claims on so need mind
me kan ba it wo no de oni honom abedi akira ni honom enura wo hwe o mampani ex account a was go enura no okwo na abedi akira honom ekokohwe no iti eche so mampani yede oni ha wona na bedi echiri nyina omuni hanom same no ka say speaker nso ni ha iti so mampani ni ho anka na bedi echiri ene hwe oman ne so abedi echiri ni ho no speaker ene hwe oman ne so but ni nyina mu no enje se yede ya no na eka keke ye beso anipa kono no in e wo mbra kwan so o mampani ni ho no enunti na bedi echiri na hwe oman ne so ekosi so obeba sanso no mampani abedi echire nso ni wono mampani ni wono mo a speaker so ene ebeso ani in so wono eno wo ye caretaker wono ye president at the time omumi enu ye den eni honom na omumi ensa ni honom ye wo chief justice so we acting emranimu fo obusa say acting chief justice obetumi act as president nso ana okay se mrama kwan na say at this point no ye hwe chief justice bia na obi enu honom na eye acting no kwa na wo hode a edien emra kwan ben ye dia faso a eche so no hwe o man ne so abra wo mo miensa ni nyina no onye den edi honom eni eto o man num eni ti so man peli jo man ne to honom say ya na woni honom na bedi eche ni honom speaker ni honom acting chief justice nso ye nso ani in na wo jo man ne dia to ho a na sa o man pani we say no se okoka se na kola akwa sika e bia no madwene se MPP fo na eye didi demum baby omo wonne no yatana hopen tiedum die wom se na Elvis ka no se tumi no enye wura mu dia na bo waso 3 na wani so ayedan efra ekusi so obekwa akoto bom
right all of me that say ba keju mami mo sima num ni nkomo sidi na appreciate dollar na hoden e ba form e den na ya ni yia ma sidi no appreciate then e be yibetuma sustain na enkoye say afi ba ko na abosumi nsia na herem na asan abeje aguma wo sama for raise issues bebre say service providers in omuka contractors in omuka because of taxes Trump the aba US in tia manfo nkofa no ma ka ho bia ma sidi no appreciate e den na ma sidi no appreciate
107.3
sidi no appreciate no so busamia the mechanism brody mechanism is a passing wind
okay
e twamu keke. And then in economies, you don't gain out of nothing. You don't gain out of nothing. At the end of the year, I'm a city, no. I appreciate it. Globally, no, American dollar nakasa. If you see any challenges, and intino, ama akofem in value. Aye di huwa dance here. Ibi abe kan Ghana. And here one thing. And then yatese gold board almost on my tongue gold $1 billion, $2 billion, and into almost this can be a day Eddie Ababigum says answer dia and a dollar naka said Tiakofem and almost the Bia Babishima. You can't saw my yard. Now gold board and the horn say no almost to gold no almost the city. And I thought, none ya na me core constituency no. The way minus in a buafu, aggregators na a buafu no. And yada ketwa.
I don't almost almost have the same.
Almost and they say gold prices are no a costro. Nimum, if it am almost set on price, gold board for more price and also no on price in Igina Fako. And don't forget, say a nipa or moto gold no musuno. Omo the international rate no and a little gold and that. And into omuni nipa omuni majumanum omuni mo ma de omudida but akwa ba ne see gold board in tino we nyina fi yetin ko chasye ne mum se price and international market price no e kosoro a ye de yemfa bi nka ho ma yen that is one thing minus no eni ade enu ntino ehunsun sanso no enche beba ebia ba ne sei no omusua kwan a omo befa so a ombenye omo fa ahodi to me, it will go to Aquabonting. Menkasa san is some year, but we should also forget, say, San Crofo, when no more to go to at the court to buy any other places, or Mancasa, a businesses, I can say, and no customers are one on the Yejuma. And it is a water good now, the bishop, Nasa was here, and Nintino, would destabilize system now. It is fine, but the question is, how sustainable?
Of course,
me
sure, no.
It didn't be started, is going to be a passing win. So be better power no. You to me hold $1 no for a very long time. But a gene who say air con. Yet me control beam. As a grass and the echo was saying Yamiadum. Yeba be fipa we ya dollar and start to say a day.
Appreciate
now a year gold a year for no minus no any aggregators no the omo yen say omo for musika no omo sebi in cities. And it is a no. So $1 no na wo hold $1 no na mo mu cedi na o ju cedi no a o besa de akwa $1 no o ji cedi na wie afi wo no but obe invest in sika no e wo dollar emu because o mo nyintum say o mo de o sika no besie ewo cedis nim eniti e ba na sa no ya de corona eniti be du tembi realities na kasa be den e be setting enya setting pepe pa yentumi ye ho hwe biem bi de nya ni say ya senka dollar na ba fam no enka pepe nemu ya nyentutu ye papa ai e beba ni say industries ye lisike ehim na ye export ye to be promote export e won niema foforo ho and support gold no na ye niema bia ye import e de balance no ye ntumi enya alternative amfa ma e wa hanom a ye den ya de ye ne de ebe cosmetics keke with time no dollar no ebe san e take over bi
mera asema me ko Elvis Darko cedi enya hoden dollar ba na bafom magic bi aban effort bi ye be dia sustaining.
Okay, I said I'm a co-honour. I want to make few comments about the Sammy issue. Amaya ne ye nyina say you are seeing audit to corruption and also one. Omnye emra per se no mo fight corruption. Omudi ethics any code honor culture and the fight corruption. Ama they are so we are the public will be so against you say one kasa kwa baba e ferry emawo ne wabusuya.
Okay.
And to Scandinavian countries are where corruption is lesser. It's not necessarily about law, but it's about the honor culture. Just say ethics ni codes na juma. And so am be always more of the mram fight corruption. Actually, you don't gain much out of it. Who can Lee Kuan Yew and how he fought corruption? I see one of the first corporates appointee. I got na private businessman plain mo there 2 coin. Ya chini to mo say or you as a government appointee only private business. Then the one tempta obet the private jet e dey 2 coin. And no emra be na nepa na buso the private jet 2 coin. But your manity as a public official na nepa na business no. It's possible so china be nepa na be here bibi from aban ho. There could be possible conflict of interest.
Okay.
And you know in nkrofo fight corruption we no. Any oman bia be per say the legalities na ye no. You don't gain much from it. Into this idea of emraben and nipa na from kosu in that manner, we should know say we are not ready for a lot of achievement.
Okay.
Cedi and dollar. You see, currency biano, SBB a holding. Cedi appreciation you win. A good thing. Nobody should say it's a good thing. But I see more bianso create impression say a buying way. Eba enkwa na Cedi start appreciate. Effort started before the elections. The then central bank injecting almost about $400 million into the exchange market before we voted after December. To usher that time, no, so I say Cedi no, though it was about 17, it started a drop because of that injection. As we speak, just in April this year, Central Bank are injecting about $490 million into the forex market just to support the Cedi. Now, Cedi no na can also no. So, for the first time and the highest on record in the government of Ghana, and they said for the first time as at the end of 2024, no. Now Ghana government had to me save what you call current account deficit was 3.8 billion. You been see that, and it was the back of 2 things: gold price air kosuru, and foreign remittances. And government of Ghana was able to actually bolster the current account deficit to the tune of $3.8 billion. Reserves built it to over $8 billion as at the end of 2024. Because of the Trump presidency, dollar from January to April, dollar lose about 8% of its value in dollar. And the the debt restructuring no. Say any debt restructuring anka interest on your loans anka ye tuano. The amount of money anka be here they are servicing your loans no. But because of debt restructuring, I feel the government of Ghana no entua any interest on its debts.
Okay.
And we are also not paying interest on our debt because interest I say cedi into dollar. Na interest on our debt. And so all the factors we including say dollar nankasa so lose value. Now the facts that BOG and Kasa are injecting 490 million just in April to support the cedi. And then the fact that we are not paying interest on our loans. And the fact that you're building a reserves to over 8 billion, 9 billion now. Clearly, no, it's obvious that there is some inflow of foreign currency in the system. And if only a month, BOG Nkwabe intervene of 490 million, question is, will BOG be able to do that every month?
Okay.
For the next times?
Sustainability.
And abai fufuro into there's so much goodwill say. A car mudin abai nyan starting to yan ho kabiae. Abai nyan starting to yan ho kabiae. And the demand for payment say ube tuya kano sono.
Contractors, service providers, and
a car. And also abai nyan starting into yae. In fact, there are contractors amoye jumo krum ha. Amoye foreign companies are their governments are putting pressure on us to say we should pay their contractors. Ama Ebimu went to meet President Mahama and they told him in the face. Ebimu quite fly their prime ministers and senior government officials from their countries. So many President Mahama be kasa say e kan ye di omo contractors okroma na yentua. And the all say for now niema we nyina e support the cedi. Say start etua sa niema we a. The ebe hu ni say reserves now you are building no. You start be using part of it to do some of the payment because sikano unipi. Because yen nyina ya tiase okuma say sika ya ji wo man mu nyina afi mu nyina no in the whole year sika ya ji no say etua abanduma e foka na etua statutory funds just statutory funds na interest on our loans etua sika ya ji wo man mu nyina asa tisa also be ye kwan ubesi school ubesi health center obeye bibia this okoji bisia. This okoji bisia. It is a say ya nyantua interest on our loans this year nyantua interest on our loan because of debt restructuring no. It's every year. And even when we are start paying no, instead of 48% of our revenue editua debt no, debt restructuring reducing to about 25%.
Let me say
until you want high kakra. And the moment I started etua to nyama we no, ebema pressure beba system no. Ti say who ni sika no available. E say odi tua manfo a cedi no ebe start abre. Enti o hwe reporter SMP e release enra e upgrade Ghana's ratings a. Almost say omo be their analysis with all government obligations wait is a government best to deliver on obligations no. The cedi depreciation no ebesa resume from the second half of the year. This is what SMP they be make say the eka o man o ne policy and catch ye betie but ratings agencies ekasa say yeti enu yi.
That is from June July ko bia
per SMP their analysis no by that time no before the second half of the year esa ban started to change ho ka na eka eda homa ban so tua no enye ka ketwa and iska we so tua enti say started by sa niama no aban started deliver on obligations na aban super say campaign promises so omudi sika some of their promises more government will be under pressure for revenue say end do baby problem so they say as at this time no because of the IMF bill at ye ni akwenya say be capital market akọ bobisia and the sika na be available for government to spend no enye sika hibia at the moment our buying started to ho kape ebe ma pressure ebe back on the cedi.
Okay.
And as a see no global issues no say ba no to as ya hwe ni ya ebe ba form because according to information eba no as at no China and America omo agree on tariffs. America be charge 35% on Chinese goods. Now China so be charge 10% on goods from America to China. If that is resolved, then the trade war na ema dollar no e weekend no na eno so abayeye. Se eno so be ye na penny dollar no. E start also gaining its strength because the way losing now is all because of the tariffs and the trade war. It is and also a resolve now America and China agree on tariffs. Now so say the $100 ne eluzunu and so best start up and best up and obviously no what has happened now no question man for some bisa omo say ye bet to me Eddie $490-500 million
every month.
Eddie are putting the currency market ebe support $1 no. The question is if we start paying our debt no even their gold board there no end baby ya. The Abuaka Accra na gold price e kosoro and say ama we a gold producing country the gold no quite revenue never no and also but see 290 million and a gold board the ejuma and it say Ghana started to have 290 million there and yes bia and so we likely may have pressure back on the city. Anything I say we should celebrate it but the old money say in reality no and so say from since I buy on my any new contract bia and a card do na da ho ne nyama so oye ni nyina wo sika semo no abanya nto even budgetary allocations are ya di ama no most institutions almost sika na enya nko and when government decide is best institutions sika mo omo a most of the institutions be demand omo sika no is going to be and then they are also adding more people to the payroll and also be wage bill no be kosoro and the truth is say whatever has happened now no it never be see before the election by the previous government and among be almost to no and support city no
okay
and an injection of more capital into the city no also because at last year no maximum that Bank of Ghana was selling to the BDC so on more import oil no though they need 400 million a month no every 2 weeks BOG was auctioning just 20 million so it means that even oil companies only have 400 million to import oil like you use no BOG was supposed to give them only $40 million in a month. And the next the remaining amount, they have to go and buy it from the allergists and the, anybody who has $1. And then the pressure, and then the pressure $2 no so. But now, BOG to me the 490 million two system no man. There's a bid is here 400 million. They could really grab their money, and there will be no demand. And so when there's no demand, really do not be high. But the question is, who started your data? Will BOG be able to do that intervention? So intervention is started reduce super, then the demand no echoes raw. People will now have to go to the allergists and the other people for it. And honor so omunya enough from BOG. They say omuba me what they say me map one so. And honor obe say BOG rate and the market rate no there will be a big difference. And now who study currency market I expect to tell you say the moment the central bank rate no and the actual market in the tunnel say spread no S1 not just that there's a problem in the forest market. It's the moment allergists who say oh we onya enough from the banks BOG not able to give them say I will buy a while they will start increasing the rate and when about the market rate no will start rise and when I never start because they see the next start truth ni say anchor cedi appreciating anchor yeah more minor but the question is say how sustainable then the fact is the amount is here there you are careful ebe higher and then the gold sika ko na eto no be credit no started from the previous government
good for you deal no
because as at October the central bank governor then briefed the media no gold nko abaya to was about $6.7 billion as at that time for both gold for oil and building of the central bank reserves was over $6.7 billion.
Okay.
In fact, the total gold government toy and moved from about that 8.7 as at the time Okasana central bank had to go to the tune of about 88 tons. But because almost ton part of it for the gold for oil into no and then the result and 88 tons about 31 tons.
Okay.
So it shows us that the difference in quantity are turning in the import oil to reduce the pressure on the market. And it means that the policy of buying gold no really 6.7 billion when you pesca the year anyway no abayi will say the cedi is an issue and they invested over $6.7 billion to just buy gold and they sold more than half of it just to make sure say oil imports in the country no aba and you see the previous one had 2 gold programs. One was to buy 20% of gold from major mining companies. That one is to build central bank reserves and some small ones like PMM and on the central bank use for the gold for oil. So they were buying gold in 2 different streams under the previous government, and this government has come. They continue. So it's not like it's because of gold board into now buying airton gold. Maybe it is something that they came to meet, and they are only continuing in it.
Right.
And you know, say maybe gold price will continue to go up. Gold price will continue to go up, and then there may some a little support. But Sekobani say the dollar started rise here. The issue is then the dollar become a safe haven for investors until they will start moving to the stock market. They will no longer be buying gold. Because dollar no cost for the investors are rushing after gold. Gold price air cost rule.
Okay.
But if the dollar start gaining strength, the HSA investors will no longer leave their money in gold. They will now move back to the stock market. When that happens, gold prices will no longer be increasing. It may remain stable or maybe even start dropping.
Madam say, Ora Elvis Darko, Elvis Darko, editor, some for Payma, the NewsCenta. Madam say, Honorable Alexander Agyare, MP for Kade Vice Chairman Budget Committee, the master for Mutama, Munyamayan, Mumyada GTS, Madam say, Adyare, Nayasadani, the Mamidin, at the Bonohene Baffour Awuah. Merci.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.